on, guys? Back for another video. I kind of haven't updated in a little bit, but we're going to do something a little bit different today, and we are going to hood dump the Supra. Obviously right now it doesn't run. It still is in the works. I'm still working on like the wiring harness. I got to finish routing some stuff. I got to get the turbo officially mounted so I can do the intercooler piping and all the fun stuff. But right now the motor is sitting in there. It's not officially bolted down. There's no transmission yet. But that's where it will be sitting. I got the engine bay primed so I don't have to worry about like rust and stuff, and then I'll eventually get everything laid out where I want it. Like I already have the coolant reservoir. I got the fuse box down here. And once I get everything mounted, I'll take everything back out, paint the engine bay, put it back in, and be a little bit more careful. But we got the turbo set up on here. I already modified a lot of this. I already did have an existing hood dump, which I made, but it was 2.5 inch, and I want to change it to 3 inch. So I got some reducers and adapters that go from the turbo, come up, reduce, and then have a 3 inch exit basically. But the manifold, I've chopped the flange off for the turbo. I've rotated it. I've done all kinds of stuff, and everything's just kind of now sitting in there. So like the manifold is held on by 2 bolts. The turbo is just sitting on the studs. It's just initial mock-up, really. There's nothing official. I've already flipped the wastegate port because it was going straight down, and I want the wastegate dump to come out with the exhaust. So I got that all ready. So basically I'm just waiting on my wastegate to show up and intercooler and piping, and then we should be able to get this running, hopefully, and then go from there. But for today, we're just going to do a hood dump on the exhaust, and obviously you'll need some stuff. So like I already have some scrap metal. This is all 2.5, and then this is a 2.5 to 3 inch, but it's angled, so it's kind of hard to tell, but it does tip. So one side is completely straight and the other side tips out. And then I also have this that I made the other day when I was just wasting some time. This is my flange that I need to a 3 inch, and this is just a straight. So instead of it being curved like this one, it's just a straight up. So that way it will just go directly to that 3 inch. And I have a 90, which I'm going to waste about 90% of it because I'm going to use it as a teardrop. So it's going to get cut on the bottom of this and then across. And then I have this from my existing one, which is what I use to bolt or mount to the back of the turbo. So this piece I kind of already had on here, which sits like so. And then you can see I cut it off because I originally had a 2.5 coming up to another teardrop. So I'm gonna maybe cut it back a little bit farther. I only have limited materials right now, so I might cut it back farther and have it come up, and then do the adapter to the 3, and then have the 3 come out. I really wanted to do the 3 from here, basically, like adapt right here, and then do a 3 all the way. But I'm limited on my 3 inch pipe. So I'm still kind of doing it. I'm gonna just go along with it in the video. But obviously to do this, you need a welder. You don't necessarily need a grinder. You could use a hacksaw if you really wanted to. And then I'm gonna use my bench grinder or my bench top sander to get these edges just flat. For like, this is one that I was just testing with. Obviously it's not really as much of a teardrop as I'm wanting. My old piece, which I dropped, you can see how much more aggressive the teardrop is, which this was mounted to this piece like so. But we're going to scrap that idea. We're going to start from scratch. So let's get to mocking this stuff up. And first step is I'm going to get this mounted in the car, figure out what I need to do for room wise and mess with it a little bit and then go from there. All right, so I found a spare chunk of 3-inch. I cleaned it up a little bit. It's been sitting outside. So instead of having to try to reuse this one, I can actually use my correct one. So what I'm going to do is actually use this. All right, so I got the main piece in there. So basically what I need to do, I'm gonna remove this hook just for some more clearance. Basically what I need to do is I need to make a pie cut to come from this angle straight, maybe even a double back over, just because the turbo is angled. It's not straight with motor, it's angled. So I don't want it getting too close to the head. Obviously this is the exhaust side already, but obviously less heat here would be a little bit better. So as you can see, looking at the motor straight, you can see how much of an angle it's at. So what I'm gonna do is probably make some pie cuts and have it come back and then go up towards an angle. And then if I need to, I can always reposition this again. It's not a big deal. I might have to anyway, just because I made it straight up. I didn't realize that most wastegates are 90 degrees. So I'll probably have to end up tipping that. So it's mounting the wastegate and then the exhaust will come up instead of vice versa. So let's try to get to making some pie cuts. All right, once you get some pie cuts out, which don't question my work, I don't have a bandsaw, so this is all by a grinder. I'm gonna mock these up and see. I'll probably end up using all of these, but I am just wanting to see angle wise. I think it's gonna be both of these little ones stacked together, which isn't a big deal, but I definitely have to clean these up because I got a little bit of a gap. It's hard to do it without a special tools, using a piece of tape and a marker, but I guess whatever works. So that right there is looking like it's gonna get me almost flush or straight back. So I might do those two plus this one, which will get me that bend. So if I come over here, that puts me back just a little bit, which if I honestly make one more, that might get me to where I come out away from the motor instead of just parallel with it, because I kind of wanted to bring it back and angle it into the corner. So I might do that. Just make one more of these and make that work. So let's bust that out really quick. All right, I got some more pie cuts made. I didn't really clean them up. As bad as I want to, this is stainless, but I can't weld stainless because I'm not set up to. So I'm gonna MIG weld it, grind it down, and then it's probably just gonna get heat wrapped anyway. So for now, let's get this all welded up, and then I'm just gonna tack it all for now and then go from there and get it all kind of mocked up and see how I like it. And then basically just go with the flow. I still have to cut this, which what I'll do is probably, I have a laser, self-leveling laser. I'll probably set that up and mark it perfectly on the bottom of this. So it goes across, and then that way I'll have a teardrop. So it's a little bit bigger of a bend that I initially wanted, which I'm pretty sure it will end up like this, going off of how the 2.5 looks, which if it goes off of that, that's fine with me. This one I kind of cut a little bit lower, so instead of it being higher up, I cut it down into here. So the goal is to get as high as possible so I have that long teardrop point in there. But for now, let's get this stuff tacked up and get it all mocked up. All right, once you get this all cut and tacked, so you can see how it bends straight, get this mocked up in here. So now that I got that mocked up in there, you can see how it wants to kind of come away from the motor. So what I'm probably going to end up having to do is cut more pie cuts, which I'll cut some smaller ones to get more of a heavier angle, because I want it to come to about in here. So when it comes up kind of like at an angle. Then when I do that, I'll probably angle it out with it too and have it kind of be next to the other one with a smaller pipe. That way it's all a little bit more together. Because right now, if I were to take this, which is my old one, and say I just hold it up, I mean, I honestly doesn't look bad there, but I do want it kind of over a little bit. Let me move my removable core support. Basically, I want it kind of like that in that area. So that way it's facing away. So I think I need at least 1 or 2 more pie cuts. I mean, I might be able to get away with it actually. We'll see. I can keep messing with it. Go from there. But if any of you guys are wondering, this turbo, obviously it's not for this car. This is a 7M GE. I'm doing an NAT build. So basically it's a GE body with a GTE setup. I'm gonna have a GTE harness on it, so I can run a CPS and igniter and all that. I'll have coils. The turbo is a H1C or HC1, whatever you want to call it, HX35. I can't remember what it's called, but I'm pretty sure it's an H1C. It's out of a Cummins turbo diesel. I believe it's an 85 millimeter. I could be wrong. Don't quote me on that. I still have to rebuild this one, which not a big deal, but I am worried about the little spindles in there, because once you take them apart, you have to be careful for having them be unbalanced. So I'm gonna have to like mark them and tape them, keep them together of some sort. And then I ordered a heat bag for the back, for the hot end, to kind of cover it up. It's a tan carbon fiberglass to protect it. And then the valve covers are going to get, this one is already all done, it just needs to get powder coated, but I am going to be welding some AN fittings for the vents. So I'm waiting until I decide to make the mess and shave this one, because I shaved this one but not this one yet, because I just don't like the lines. I mean, I like the clean look. This is going to get polished to chrome, and then I'm probably going to do all stainless. A lot of people use aluminum, but I'm probably going to use stainless piping, because the way the radiator is going to be set up is the radiator will be set up right here where my hand's at. And so what I'm going to do is probably have this come down or come out and go down in front of the radiator. And then depending, I believe the intercooler I got is just enough to where there's like 6 or 7 inches, I believe, between here. So I'll probably cut this piece out, which is just, I mean, I don't have any use for it, so I'll probably end up cutting it out, so I don't have to worry about cutting a hole in here. And I'll probably have it come up and then come right up to the intercooler. And then same thing for that side, just because of the fuse box, I don't have to cut a hole in the new tubs. So I'll probably just run it out, straight down, under, and up, and go from there. Like this line's gonna get removed, the one that's in here. That's just an old AC line I haven't ripped out yet. So it's probably gonna come down, around, and back up. And I am gonna buy a bandsaw before that, because I'm gonna have a ton of pie cuts to make. So that'll hopefully save me a little bit of more time and patience for having to cut pie cuts, because doing this already, I'm already struggling. So that's down the road. It's another video. I'll probably make a video on installing the intercooler and piping, just because it's going to be all custom work. I mean, so far everything has been custom work other than the motor mounts. The intake I had to have specially welded because this is a 2JZ intake, but these are 7M runners. So I took a 2JZ intake, cut the original holes that it bolted to off, and I took another piece of aluminum and traced out the 7M runners, and then I ported them so they all matched, and then I had a shop weld it for me. And then turbo manifold, I believe it's a CX Racing, the older model. I could be wrong, but I had to cut the flange off. I pivoted it, I angled it, did all kinds of stuff to get the turbo to sit where I want it, because originally it was sitting straight and it was dead center into the distributor. So I angled it, and then after I angled it, I decided to go CPS, but I do like the angled look. Obviously the tubs are custom, coolant reservoir will be custom, fuse box is going to be custom. The intercooler piping is custom. It's just a huge process. So I'll get back on track with this, and I'm going to try to get this all finished up, and then we can go from there and hopefully have a hood exit by the end of the video. All right, I got another piece that I found on there. That was a 45. I just cut a little bit shorter. So that got me kind of facing up a little bit. So I'm going to take the 90 and bevel the bottom of it so it'll match to that, and then I'll just have it come up back there towards the firewall, and I'll pivot it. It's a little bit closer to the firewall than I wanted, but I figured if anything I could honestly take this one to this one out and bring it back, because that's basically straight where it's at right now. And I mean, I don't know, I'll probably mess with it a little bit. I mean, tinker with it off camera, and then I'll probably do a time lapse of it. So let me tinker with this a little bit and then see how this goes. So as you can see, I have this laser. When I turn it on, you can see how it has that cross on there, and if I tip it, it will stay straight. Because it's basically like a water level. So you can see how it jiggles. So what I'm going to do is I'll get this up here, so that way it's right on the bottom of that pipe. I just need to find something that's tall enough. This might be too tall. Ooh, that's almost perfect right there. So you can see right there on the bottom. I need it just a little bit more, but I can work with that with the pen. So basically what I'll do is I'll grab a marker, and I will mark that, and then I'll just spin the pipe so I can get the other side as well. And don't mind my line. It is a full-on guess, technically. Once you get that, I'm going to kind of fix it, clean it up. I mean, it's a little bit easier to clean it up when you're not trying not to knock it over or anything like that. but this will at least give me a rough idea. And then what I'll do is I will cut on the outside of the line, so that way I have some room to shave it down. And get it nice and flat. So I'm going to cut this. All right, I got that all cleaned up. My belt sander, or my benchtop sander, the belt broke, so I have no way to do a complete flat grind. I ordered a new belt, it's supposed to be here in a couple days, so if this doesn't look very even, it's not. It's just roughed up, so until I can get my belt sander and clean it up. But for now, I have to figure out an angle for that, which won't be very hard, because what I'm going to do is probably end up tacking that there, like so, where I want it, and then I'll just trace that gap and cut it out into this upper pipe, because that will let this drop down to about there, which will be about perfect height, because I'm probably not going to be running a hood, to be honest. This hood exit really isn't going to be a full-time thing. It's more of going to be like, oh, if I want to have fun and go to a car show, or if I want to just show off, or summertime, you know, stuff like that. Just run it then. So I am going to get this tacked here and then see if I can mock up a line to cut this at an angle to match that 45. All right, after a couple hours of welding and grinding, I got it finished. I cut a lot of it out just to save a lot of video time, but I went to the hardware store. I looked at some of their heat wrap for like that fiberglass exhaust wrap stuff, and it is ridiculously overpriced in my opinion. It was like $80 for just a roll of it, like this big. That's about it. And so I think I'm gonna go online and see what other stuff they have, because I'm not really going for the actual heat wrap. I'm just going to cover up the stainless, because I'm probably just going to tape the top of it where I did the teardrop and have that be stainless, and then go down a couple inches, do a tape line and paint it black, and then I'll wrap where I painted it black and just have it be where it's stainless coming out, because since I can't weld stainless, my welds are gonna rust. Even though if I grind them down and clean them up, they're still gonna rust. So if I can do a coat of like heat paint of just like that matte black, whatever you want to call it, paint on there to protect it, which I'm probably gonna end up doing the whole header that way too, because I have welded so much on it at this point just to cover up and move stuff and adapt to make it fit for what I want. But here is what it looks like on the car. I'm not a fan of that angle right there, but I had to do what I had to do, so it will get covered up, because like what I'm saying is I'll probably wrap to about here all the way up to about here, so it's just the top of it will be stainless. But I think that looks pretty good for some scrap metal and to make it work. And I do have it angled a little bit so it wants to go back. I'm not saying it's gonna like shoot flames or be a flamethrower or anything like that, because I still have to do the wastegate with the wastegate pipe, which I do have a scrap piece that I was messing with somewhere. This little piece right here was I believe this is 1.5, which it might be too big depending on the wastegate exit, but this will probably sit something like that next to it, not touching it, but it'll probably be like that or something parallel with the teardrop for both of them, so that they both come up together. But hopefully that made that video a little bit shorter than I expected, but I got tons of scrap left over. Another straight piece, and you can kind of see how I made the teardrop, where that was the 90. I just cut it on that flush edge basically. So I'm hoping to get this all finished up. I've been trying to bust it out so I can get it on the road again, but with work and everything else, I got some family stuff and I'm having a kid, so it's kind of just like whenever I can find time to do it, which tonight the lady had to go out of town for some appointments, so I was like, screw it, I'm gonna bust out a couple hours on this and get somewhere. Which the exhaust isn't really a priority, but it does need to get done sooner or later, so I just need to order some more stuff, and I'm waiting on more parts, and it's just a giant waiting game. So hopefully you guys enjoyed this video. I'm sorry I skimmed through it pretty quick. Not a whole lot I can do other than you guys just watching me cut, weld, and grind for 40 minutes. So I tried to thin it out a little bit, and hopefully this will encourage some of you guys to build a motor for your car, because I never intended on building a motor for this. I mean, I basically just wanted to do paint, wide body wheels, boom, done. And as you can see, I have gone way past my limit, but that's what the car game's all about. You know, you do what makes you happy, respect builds, and appreciate what you got. So definitely a process, but hopefully you guys keep watching and subscribe to the video and the channel, and hopefully I see you guys on the next video. So thanks for watching. Thank you.